Yeah. This is great. So you've you've been in this space long enough, so obviously you totally know exactly what can go wrong in what areas. So I want to, for our listeners' benefit, I want to outline this specifically. So first of all, right at the beginning, I heard you mention there are two fundamental areas of leakage. One is inventory, where Amazon is basically mishandling your inventory and in the process losing your money. The other is incorrect fees. You are being charged incorrect fees, whether it's the package size or whatever. So those are the two separate areas.
Yeah,
Then
I distinguish by those just based on the report structure, because one is an inventory loss and one is a fee reconciliation. They actually live in different reports, but they're also fundamentally different in how they appear and how they transpire.
Yeah. Okay. So now if we take that inventory umbrella and look under it, in that area, there are 6 separate areas of leakage that occur. One is when you send inventory into Amazon FBA. That's one. You send 100, they receive 80. What happens to the 20? That's one. The second is they receive the 100 you send, but they decide, okay, we're going to send 30 from Pennsylvania to Seattle warehouse. And out of that 30, 10 goes missing. So that's another one within the FBA. And the third one is when they ship the customer from your inventory for full order, things go wrong there. That's another one. And then customer returns it back. They refund the customer, they debit you, but inventory never shows up, or shows up, but not necessarily is added to stock, or something happens there. It's another one. And then the fifth one is you have too much inventory at Amazon FBA facility, and you decide, I'm going to bring it back. And you decide to bring back the 100 sitting in Amazon warehouse. You create a removal order, and you never receive the 100. 20 goes missing out of that 100. And then the last one is really nothing to do with Amazon, but it is a fact of life that inventory does come back to you. It's not selling, or it's defective, or whatever, and it's not no fault of yours, but it's the supplier. Then you want to do something with that. So that's the sixth one. So is that a good outline to cover each one?
Yeah, I mean, what's not mentioned there is one of the major ones, which is not necessarily a journey-based discrepancy, but a physical presence. So in the Amazon warehouse, because of all the movings and goings and volume, things get lost, damaged, destroyed. That's actually a huge claim. It's not really again, a journey-based claim or a discrepancy of transit, but it's the nature of physical elements or loss or risk, like anything else.
Yes, it could be damaged. It could be like if it's a liquid item, it could leak, and then suddenly it's wherever it is stored, it simply goes.
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, the associate drops it or doesn't handle it properly, or if it's temperature controlled and they put it in a hot area, or it's hazmat, like you name it. There's a lot of that because there's just so much volume. If anyone's ever gone, they're moving thousands of units like a second. Like it's insane.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the show, you said something that's so profound about what you can claim. I want you to repeat that again for everybody to hear, because that's unique. If you have inventory and then your 3PL loses, what they reimburse you is one thing. But tell us again how Amazon will compensate you.
Yeah, I don't know if Amazon doesn't promote this as much because it hurts their bottom line, or maybe they feel it's obvious, but I always have to remind myself that if you have an expensive item, or even not only do they compensate you the full value, but they compensate as if you sold it. So if you had like a really expensive iPad, but it was an older one and it didn't have so much sales velocity, and they lose 100 and you prove it, which we'll talk about, they will credit you as if you sold 100 units. Therefore, our work not only decreases your costs, but it increases your revenue because we re-achieve a sale that should have occurred. It's a quite unique model from a valuation perspective or from a financial perspective. There's increased top line, decreased bottom line, which leads to much more margin. So
Right.
people are like, oh yeah, it's just 1 or 2%. Yeah, but what if I told you you lost your full cost value? Okay, of course you want it back. And I'll tell you, I could create an artificial sale for you. Where else do you get that? You know,
Exactly.
that's something that people don't think about. Where they're like, yeah, it's not that much, or it's just 2%, but it adds up, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is so you're basically making Amazon your custom. That's what's
I mean,
happening.
they have a marketplace responsibility to do the best for you as if it were them. So
Sure.
ironically, if it was their own vendor inventory and they lost it, they lose the
Yeah,
sale. And you can say
exactly.
what you want about Amazon, but if they lose your stuff, they'll honor the sale. Now, granted, they have insurance and they have a lot of policies and they know what they're doing, but still, it's a great value that people don't understand. And again, I have to remind myself about that. It's just all the more important to keep them accountable.